Peering through all the negativity, here is one thing that Dave Aranda just continues to get right.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends from FanDuel. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on YouTube. I appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day. We're still in bye week mode here, so we're kind of taking a reflection on what's happened this season and what could be positive for the Bears going forward. So that's where we start today. I got the one thing, maybe just the one thing, that Dave Aranda continues to get right over the last couple of years. Recruiting is looking very good for this Baylor football program. Is that a reason to keep Dave no matter how this season goes? We will also look at who have been the biggest breakout stars for the Bears so far this year. They've been some disappointments on the team. We're taking a look at the mega positives here, the guys who have come out of nowhere. So no Sawyer Robertson on that list, but definitely some names that you hear a lot on Saturdays, obviously. And are we still getting the portal thing wrong? I'm not even talking about Baylor. I'm talking about college football. Are we still not quite getting that where we need it to be? All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. But we start where we start. There's been a lot of things Dave Aranda hasn't gotten right, or at least he hasn't been consistent in, right? I think we can all agree on that. But one thing Dave has really nailed the last 2 years now is the recruiting. And we're not seeing necessarily the fruits of that labor yet because it is recent enough. But since he brought on Keenan Hall during the 2023 to 24 offseason, it was the early winter of 24. Since he brought Keenan Hall in from SMU, things have just changed. Things have absolutely changed. Aaron Hunt becomes your GM, and that momentum continues to ride. You know, we saw it last year with Taz Williams and Cameron Morgan and Edward Griffin and all these guys, and you're seeing it even more so in 2026. Like this, by the numbers, is one of the best recruiting classes in recent memory already for the Baylor Bears, and there's still plenty of time left on this one. They have 4 of the top 15 recruits in the state of Texas signed on in the class of 2026, including, by the way, 2 of the top recruits that Baylor has ever had in the national recruiting rankings era. That's Jamarion Carlton from Temple at number 5 and Jamarion Vincent, number 9 from right down the road at Conley High School in Waco. So, by the way, 16 guys signed. A quarter of them are named Jamarion or Jamarion, however they say it. 4 Jamarions. You don't see that often. I wanted to highlight some of the guys who are really sticking out. Of course, Jamarion Carlton is doing that at Temple. The dude's still a beast. He is still unblockable. He's a top 25 recruit in the nation for coming to the Baylor Bears. And we talked about it in the midseason grades episode, the game wrecker. Right? I asked who that was going to be before the season. And I think I prefaced it by saying, you're going to have one coming down the line in Jamarion Carlton. And he's certainly still looking that part in 6A playing at Temple. For the Temple Wildcats, baby. You can hear Ward Whites and Steven Simcox on the call for those games. But wanted to take a look at, of course, the recruit that everyone wants to know about. And that is, who's your stud quarterback recruit? 4-star Quinn Murphy is that stud quarterback recruit. Through 5 games this year, I'm not going to lie, the completion percentage has gone down. It's just in the stats, 57%, but mainly because they load up on some pretty good competition at the start of the year, including playing Anna High School for Seth Parr, Sawyer Robertson's high school coach, now over at Anna Coyotes, state champion coach. Anyway, I'm getting bogged down. He's thrown for 1,400 yards, 280 a game, and 18 touchdowns to 3 picks. Now, again, the completion percentage is down. He's thrown as many picks in 5 games as he did last year in 13 games, but his yards per game almost up by almost 50. And he's projected to throw for more yards and more touchdowns than he did last year when he had a record-breaking season playing for Jason Witten at Argyle Liberty Christian. So things are very much looking up for Quinn Murphy, and therefore the succession plan of this Baylor quarterback room. I know that's something that's been a little bit confusing to me this year, mainly because in the Samford game, we really didn't see Walker White. Thought he would have been the first quarterback in after Sawyer Robertson was taken out. That looked like the natural succession, to Walker White, and then either Nate Bennett or Edward Griffin would be the incumbent after that. And then you're kind of making room for Quinn Murphy somewhere at about 2027, 2028, which is a long way off, folks. But Quinn Murphy still is going to be that dude in the future of Baylor's quarterback room as long as he stays signed on. Who's he going to throw to, though? How about London Smith, the local product, the Baylor legacy, the 4-star wide receiver from University High in Waco, the same alma mater as LaDainian Tomlinson? Didn't let this one slip through the cracks. Didn't let this one head on up the road to TCU. Through 5 games, London Smith, 41 receptions for 569, 14 yards per catch, 113 yards per game. Let me repeat that, 113 yards per game as a receiver and 7 touchdowns. He is going to smash every one of his career highs this year. His career high is about 850 yards in the season. He did that in 11 games. He's got 570 through 5 games. He's going to dominate that, just like he's going to dominate the Big 12. That was a massive get for Dave Aranda, by the way. That was one that was on the radar from like day one. Dave was at London Smith's basketball games when he was a freshman. So this was one that they were hard on the trail for a long time. Everyone wanted London Smith, and Baylor lands the signature of a legacy. That is huge. Think of all the great Waco area talent we've missed on, even in the last 10 years. That's what makes Jamarion Carlton a big deal. It's also what makes London Smith a big deal. Think of the Baylor legacies we've missed out on, right? The most notable one being DJ Lagway. Felt you had that in the bag because he was a legacy. Well, no, they were coming off a 3-9 season, and the University of Florida came calling with some SEC money. Tough to blame him too much there. But speaking of recruiting that backyard, let's go to another Jamarion, shall we? Jamarion Vincent from Conley. Through 5 games this year, he projects to be a defender at the next level. He plays defense and offense. He's such a terrific athlete. Like, seriously, you see this kid play live, you'll know what I'm talking about. So at corner this year, 5 pass breakups in 5 games. I don't know why you're throwing that way. He's also got an interception, a caused fumble, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery that he ran back for 65 yards. The kid's already a shutdown guy, even in his senior year of high school. And he's long, he's lanky, he's kind of built like that prototypical corner that you like to see, and obviously super athletic. Was the quarterback for Conley last year when I was calling games for China Spring, but that's because he was the best athlete on the field. Moved to receiver this year, first year playing receiver full-time. How about this? Through 5 games, 25 catches for 463 yards, 463 yards through 5 games, 18 yards per catch, 92 yards per game, and 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns. Guy who just picks up receiver. It's incredible. Jordan Clay also having a dominant season for San Antonio Madison as well. One of those 4 top 15 recruits in Texas that Baylor's got. What I'm trying to say is the future is bright. The future is quite bright, to the tune of, in this 2026 recruiting class, Baylor's 3rd in the Big 12. And the teams they're behind, I think, is more indicative of how great a recruiting class this is so far for Baylor. They're already in the top 30 nationally, 3rd in the Big 12, and they're only behind BYU and Texas Tech, which, not trying to imply too much here, but you put 2 and 2 together, those are clearly the football programs in the Big 12 with the deepest pockets. Those are the 2 right there. And look, that's fine. That's what the game is now. It's what you got to live with. I'm not even mad about that. But what I'm saying is Baylor's right there competing with them on the recruiting trail. They have the same number of 4-stars as Tech does with 5, and they've got 1 more than BYU does. Both Tech and BYU have a 5-star. That's why they're ranked ahead of Baylor. But it's really neck and neck for a school with some money going up against 2 schools with seemingly endless pockets here in the Big 12. So that really goes to show that maybe it's Dave Aranda, maybe it's the staff that Dave Aranda put together, which he also absolutely gets the credit for. But something is going right now. And so, I put out there, if they don't win 9 games, I think they should fire Dave Aranda, because I think the talent's that good on this team. I'm not backing off that. But there are a lot of people who want him fired right now. This is one of the big reasons why he's not. The other big reason is they've won 10 of the last 13 games. It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't maybe been sustainable as we'll look at the second half of the season, but he has won 10 of the last 13 games. And the recruiting is going as well as it has in a long time around here. Matt Rule had his spurt at the beginning, for sure. But we're talking about a top 30 national ranking, which Art Briles only did, I believe, twice in his time at Baylor. And right now, a top 3 recruiting class in the Big 12, competing with the big money donors at BYU and Texas Tech. That's a big deal. Like, that is something to keep an eye on, no matter how the second half of this Baylor season goes. If they go 7-5, but they're still top 3 in the Big 12 in the recruiting rankings, and they're still top 30, top 25 nationally, Dave Aranda's safe. He's got a job here. I'm just letting you know. But let me know what you think about the recruiting excitement. Do you buy into it? Let me know in the comment section below, and then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the path towards 5,000, and boy, are we hot on its trail. We just need your help of getting there. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Bears that have come out of nowhere. We've done some of the disappointment so far this season in the first half. We've given out some grades. Now what we're going to do is take a look at those who have come out of nowhere and shocked us all in a good way. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. I mean, guys, it's the only way I'm doing it. If you're not doing it that way, I don't know what you're doing. Order today, and you see the parts on your doorstep tomorrow. And I can attest to that. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts for a project? Supply House has that next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Just visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SH as in Supply House, SH College, the number 5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com, promo code SH College 5, the number 5. Real people, real service at Supply House. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. NFL season here in full swing, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Keeping it going here on Locked On Baylor midseason report in this bye week. By the way, if you guys have something, a question, comments about this season that you want addressed, look, it's a bye week. We've got some time next week too. Let me know in the comment section below. If I've missed something that you want addressed, like let's go into it. Let's talk about the stats. Let's talk about the feelings around it. More than happy to do it as well. I'm always trying to keep this an interactive show on Locked On Baylor. But now that we're at the midway point, let's take a look at the Bears who have come out of nowhere and shocked us all in the best way possible. I've got 4 guys that I want to highlight here. And again, you're not going to see Sawyer Robertson on here. You're not going to see Josh Cameron on here. You are going to see me take a sip of water so that I can clear my throat a little bit. Sorry about that. But you will see the guys who we maybe didn't have huge expectations for in the offseason that have come through and exceeded all of that. And certainly that's what you're going to see with our first one here. So without any further ado, number 4 on this list is going to surprise you. Number 4, Michael Trigg. Now, obviously, we knew Michael Trigg was a good player. I think all of us are a little surprised by just how electric he's been so far to start the season. And certainly I've talked a lot about him in the last 2 weeks. I know that. He had a good productive year last year. He would go missing for a couple of games at a time. That's kind of how tight ends go. They're not productive as wide receivers. Michael Trigg is, okay? He's the second leading receiver with 439 yards this year for the Bears, both in yards and catches, by the way. But he's only 17 yards and 3 catches behind Josh Cameron. If you had told me that to start the season, I would have been like, Baylor's going to go undefeated and win the national championship. If you have a tight end that can put up the similar numbers to your number one receiver, who was also a stud number one receiver last year, I just would have thought you're crazy. Again, not that Michael Trigg was not a good player, not that he wasn't a matchup nightmare last year, but this has exceeded expectations. The one-handed catches, SportsCenter top 10 plays, that's exceeded expectations. 15 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns already, which was the same amount he had last year. That exceeds expectations through 6 games. So he's definitely the one on this list that had the most upside coming into the year, but he's definitely surprised me by just how good he has been. Number 3, we're sticking on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going with Kole Wilson, the transfer in from Texas State. Now, just really didn't know what to expect from him. I honestly didn't even know how much he was going to play this year. Not that he wasn't going to play at all. I mean, he comes in as a senior. But you see Ashton Hawkins, you see Kobe Prentice, and obviously Josh Cameron on the outside, Michael Trigg at receiver, and lining up in the slot quite a bit this year. You're like, where is the room for Kole Wilson? Right away, game number 1, we found there was room for Kole Wilson, right? 8 catches for 124 yards. Clearly his best game of the season, most yards, most catches that he's had in the game. But he's been pretty steady ever since. Again, it's not like the catches have dried up. As I talk about Michael Trigg being the second leading receiver for the Bears, I didn't think Kole Wilson would be the third leading receiver for the Bears. 324 yards on 24 catches. So it's nearly 14 yards a catch and 2 touchdowns. He's been a legit weapon for Sawyer. I thought about having Kobe Prentice on this list, but I think we all expected something from Kobe Prentice, and he leads the team with 6 touchdowns. He's just dominating in that category. But Kole Wilson, I liked his upside. I liked what he had done at the G5 level. I just didn't know how that was going to translate to this Baylor offense that we knew was going to be explosive. And he slotted in there right away and has absolutely been one of the most pleasant surprises for this Baylor team. Number 2, how about some love for the special teams? Number 2, Connor Hawkins, a guy who we really haven't talked about. I have not really talked about on this podcast this year. I'm not holding you guys to that. I'm the one who talks on the podcast. Connor Hawkins, 7 of 8 on field goals this year. Okay. He missed a long one against Auburn, and he hasn't missed since. He's perfect inside of 40. He's hit 2 50-yarders, including a 53 career high, 2 game-winning field goals to go along with that. So he's been clutch. He has had the leg for it. I just didn't really expect much of anything from Connor Hawkins this year for 2 reasons. First was, he didn't unseat Isaiah Hankins really last year. I know there were some bits and pieces, but Isaiah Hankins last year, not bad, but somewhat disappointing in some big kicks. 14 of 19 on the season. It's in the 70s. You'd kind of like a little better than that. He was only 6 of 11 from 40 yards or more. And I know that might seem harsh, but when you're playing at a level this high in the year 2025, most schools get guys who can kick from 40 plus. And Connor Hawkins has done that for Baylor this year. So because he didn't kind of take over for Isaiah Hankins, I was like, has this kid really got it? Couple that with the fact that you brought in the number 1 kicking recruit in the country this year in Rhett Armstrong, and you're thinking, okay, where does Connor Hawkins fit into this fold? How is he making a positive impact on this team? He absolutely has done so. Okay, he has. Again, 7 of 8 and 2 game-winning field goals, like legit game-winning field goals. One of them they were behind, so they absolutely needed it. So Connor Hawkins gets number 2 on the pleasant surprise list. Number 1, the one who fits this criteria the best, I'm sure you know exactly where I'm going with this, The number one biggest pleasant surprise of the season for Baylor, Jacob Redding. Just out of nowhere, man. Like if you're talking about an out of nowhere fits the mold, Jacob Redding is it. Okay, this kid went from a strictly special teamer to the best coverage guy on the team in a matter of months. And look, you guys know the story with him, right? The walk-on, grew up Baylor fan, season tickets, only wanted to play for Baylor. And now he's coming through. He's on the Burlsworth Trophy Award watch list for the best walk-on in the country. This defensive back unit we knew was going to need to be better than last year. And to be quite frank, it's not really better than last year, but it's only that good because Jacob Redding has been awesome. Like the biggest reason why they're even close to where they were last year and could still improve is because of Jacob Redding. Now, speaking of the defensive backs, I do want to give a shout out here because I considered putting Tevin Williams in here because he's had an excellent season at corner for the Bears. But that said, I think a lot of us who followed this team knew that Tevin Williams was capable of being a big-time cornerback for this team when he was healthy. He just hasn't been healthy really the last 2 seasons. He is healthy now, but we kind of knew he could do that. Jacob Redding, totally out of nowhere, and definitely has the 2 biggest plays of the season. So that's my top 4 out of nowhere pleasant surprise guys on this Baylor team this year. Let me know who you guys have in the comment section below because I might have missed somebody here. And please let me know who it is in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel because, of course, we're coming at you every weekday as the #1 Baylor football show on YouTube. Coming up next, we're going to talk transfer portal, and maybe not necessarily just from a Baylor lens, but are we still continuing to mess up this whole transfer portal thing? They've got a new window out there, and I don't know if it's the right move. Anyway, let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. They craft cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes are sweating all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can make every drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, like our beloved Baylor Bears, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, impossible, like Matthew 19:26, becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by Quo. You might formerly know them or know them formerly as OpenPhone. Okay, one of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is our friends at Quo. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with that new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. With every customer conversation counting, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communication. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. We certainly don't want that. I love how they let your team share one number and collaborate on the calls and the texts. It's like a shared inbox there, so no customer is left hanging. So see why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, locked on college. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, guess what? Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. So we have some news in the transfer portal, which always gets the people buzzing. But there's been a limit to 1 transfer portal window per season, per year now, for college football. And it's being thrown in there in January. Okay, this was confirmed yesterday that it will run from January 2nd to January 16th. And that's coming straight from the NCAA. They're getting rid of the May one, it seems like. Portal's just going to last 15 days, which in and of itself, I like that. I don't like it lasting a month. I like it being 15 days, being a classic 2-week span. But what the problem is is in January 2nd through the 16th, there are still at least 4 college football teams playing in the college football playoff. Now, I'm in a rock and a hard place here. I don't want college football to have to completely adhere to 4 teams, more so than they already do, right? I mean, let's just say the quiet part out loud. But those 4 teams, whether you like this or not, are probably going to be really affected by the transfer portal, right? These teams are just loaded with 4- and 5-star talents that aren't getting on the field. So those guys are going to want to go in the portal, but they also don't want to give up on their team during a national championship run. I totally get that. There's an easy way for the NCAA to fix this, and that is don't have the college football playoff last an entire month. You could do away with conference championship games, which I'm actually kind of for. I like conference championship games, but I mean, you guys hear me really get after it in basketball season. I hate the conference tournament. I think it's okay to maybe scrap the conference championship games and just take the team that wins on the tiebreakers. But hey, that's just me. And I specifically think that when you have 16 teams potentially in the college football playoff, so I know it's 12 right now, but like if you're going to have that many teams, then we don't have to have a conference championship game. That said, January 16th, they're really pushing it on getting these kids enrolled and playing for this team. The other thing that stands out about this is there's no immediate portal opening for players on teams who fire their coaches or the coaches leave. This is a really interesting one to me. So basically what they say is you're going to have the opportunity to leave. Like you will kind of still get your own portal window, but it's going to be after 30 days rather than 15. And so you basically have to wait for another coach to be hired at your school to then enter in the transfer portal, which I think is interesting. I don't know how much it's going to change the numbers, but I think that is probably the fairest way the NCAA can do that so that you don't risk losing your entire team like you do in basketball when a coach leaves or a coach gets fired, because that becomes a whole nother mess. So I kind of like that, and that maybe you can get 20 guys that you wouldn't normally get to stay on board because they like the direction of the coach or the coach sees them in their plan. Sometimes there's not even a face-to-face conversation between new coach coming in and bunch of players leaving. So I actually kind of like that. And I like that we limit it to one window, but I just don't know if that's the time to do it. And I understand, as someone who worked in college admissions, I do know this. It's difficult to get around. You know, you can't really bring a kid in the middle of February. Like you can't do that. They need to take mini master classes online. It's a ridiculous thing, but a lot of people are upset about this because it's right smack in the middle of the college football playoff. And I can't lie to you. I don't really feel sympathy for a lot of these teams, but I do feel sympathy for someone like, let's say, for example, a Ryan Day or maybe Lane Kiffin this year. Marcus Franklin or Freeman, or any of these guys who are coaching in the Final Four, who then have to prepare for the 2 biggest games of their lives and certainly the 2 biggest games of the season, while also trying to recruit their own team and keep them on board and not wonder if, one of their depth guys, one of their backups is just going to not be on the team anymore once you get to the Final Four. That's a big deal. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday morning we drop on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. So thank you again for making it your first listen today and every day. We will see you tomorrow on a Friday edition of your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.